Hello, it's Keaney here from Recharge Wrestling, and I'm going to go through my predictions, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I haven't done a predictions video for a while, so thought I'd get on camera and get a video out for everyone. So let's go through the card. It's quite a small card, 6 matches that I can see here, so this is quite a small one. So we're going to go through them in the order on the WWE website. So I guess there's some logic to this order. Theory and Lashley for the United States title first. This one's really hard one to call. I think we're moving towards Theory and Cena. I think that is a quite an obvious next step for Theory. So I think for that reason, I may predict him here to lose the United States Championship. And maybe John Cena helps him out. I mean, Theory has got the better of Lashley in a lot of the build-up to this match. So for me, I think Bobby Lashley is going to be your new United States champion, and we can move Theory on to SummerSlam to go against Cena. And Lashley can do something else. So that's what I'm going for there. Next up is the Undisputed Tag Team Championship title match between the Usos and the Street Profits. And I think this is a really hard one as well. I can actually see this going either way. I think the Profits could, I think they could easily be champions. I actually think we might be moving towards more of a Montez Ford singles run than a tag team title run. And I think it's for that reason I'm going to go for the Usos to win. I think obviously the bloodline is stronger when they're all champions. That's a given. But for me, I think we're probably closer to Montez Ford as having a singles run than having a Street Profits tag title run. And again, Usos have lost all of their build-up matches. That's what they do. But I think they're going to retain their championships here. Then we have back-to-back women's title matches on the card, which I think is important to have with no men's title on this card. So Ronda and Natalya from the SmackDown side. I mean, these ones are going to be quite quick. I just think Ronda Rousey is going to retain against Natalya. This is a holding pattern until something bigger comes up for her towards SummerSlam. Interesting where they place these matches and who wins Money in the Bank, and that's always a nice. I mean, we don't have that on the men's side, unfortunately, because there's no Roman Reigns at this card, so we don't have that. I quite like on the pay-per-view to have that. What if there's a cash in at any point and the match placement makes a big difference to all that? But yeah, it's really going to happen on the women's side, and so that's why I think they've both got, just challengers that aren't really threats to their titles, just to keep them going until bigger and better things. So I'm going Ronda to retain, and by that logic, I'm also going Bianca Belair to retain against Carmella. Carmella was thrown in last minute from an injury to Rhea. Now, if this was Rhea Ripley v Belair, I think I'd have had a bigger, thought process into who I think is going to win. But realistically, I think it's going to be Belair retaining her title here. I don't see why you'd put the belt on Carmella. So that's what I'm going for there. And then we go into the Money in the Bank ladder matches now. There's a two of them. We'll start with the women's. Lacey Evans, Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, Raquel Rodriguez, Asuka, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch. Interesting one here. I mean, I don't think Liv Morgan's going to win. I'll say that. Or Alexa Bliss. I think those two are definite no's because, I mean, Liv got the pin on SmackDown in that tag match, and she got a bit of hype from Michael Cole, which tends, or what did Becky Lynch call him? I can't remember what she called him. She called him a funny name, Michael Cole. But yeah, so Liv Morgan got the kind of big hype on this. That usually means she's not winning. Alexa Bliss is completely directionless right now. I just don't see why giving her the briefcase is worthwhile. And then you've got the three from SmackDown. None of them really seem set up to be Money in the Bank. Lacey Evans, Raquel Rodriguez, or Shotzi. I actually wouldn't mind them giving it to Shotzi. I think that could be interesting. Because I think she's worked really well as a heel, so I wouldn't be against that. I think Lacey or Raquel seem a bit less likely. They've put a lot of time and effort into the build up to Lacey, and then they kind of fluffed it a bit. So I just don't think Lacey's in a position to be going for the title. And I think Raquel, she lost clean to Ronda Rousey, and they could give it to Raquel and turn her heel. That's one thing they could do. So I'm not ruling that out. Then Asuka and Becky are the last two, and Asuka won the last Money in the Bank. Was it the last one, or was it the one before? She won a Money in the Bank and obviously got the title from Becky going on maternity leave. And I just don't think Asuka needs the Money in the Bank to have a title shot. So I can't see Asuka either. Which leaves us with Becky Lynch. And that's where the story is currently in the women's division. She's gone from, top of the world to the bottom. She's fought her way back into Money in the Bank. She had a great showing on SmackDown on commentary. She just transcends the division. She's just a different level, Becky. And I think the storyline is in Becky Lynch winning Money in the Bank. So I'm predicting Becky Lynch. I mean, outside of Becky, honestly, my second most likely would probably be someone like Shotzi. I think the women's one, I think, is quite clear that Becky's going to win, and I'll be surprised if she doesn't. Any of the others, even if it's Asuka or Liv or any of the others, I would be surprised if they won. So I think Becky's a clear favourite there. That's not the case in the men's Money in the Bank match, though. We've got Seth freaking Rollins, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Omos, Sami Zayn, Riddle, and as of SmackDown, Madcap Moss is in the match. So I actually, for those of you that listened to the WWE review that Fisher and myself did this week, I mentioned on there that I thought there's a possibility that this last slot is left for Cody. And I actually said to the two other guys at Recharge that I'm going to wait till Saturday, today, the day of the pay-per-view, to put my predictions in, because I wanted to see how SmackDown turned out in terms of if there any more slots got filled. If there was a spare slot here, I genuinely might have predicted Cody Rhodes with Money in the Bank. Now there's not a spare slot. I just think, I don't think Cody's going to win now. So if I'd have predicted before SmackDown, I might have predicted Cody Rhodes. I'd look like an idiot now. So just glad I decided to do that. I mean, that being said, Madcap Moss is not going to win Money in the Bank. We can confirm that, I think. I think we can confirm Sheamus isn't going to win Money in the Bank. I just don't see the story there in Sheamus. Drew, I'm less inclined to. I mean, he could, but he's kind of already said he wants a title shot at Clash at the Castle. I mean, the story they could tell with Drew is that Roman basically says to him, well, no, you need to earn your title shot. And he's like, well, I've got... And then that's when the briefcase comes into play. Like, well, I'm cashing this in at Money at Clash of the Castle. Nothing you can do about it. So that's one way they could go about the Drew storyline. So that's why I give him a chance. Riddle has a chance. I thought he was banned from SmackDown, but he appeared last night. So that clearly lasted about 2 weeks, that ban. But I'm sure he was told he couldn't go for the title. So this could be his way back to the title scene is with Money in the Bank. So I think there is a shout for Riddle here. I think there's a shout for Seth as well, especially if Becky wins the women's. I think it could be really interesting to see Becky and Seth walking around with Money in the Bank. I think that could be really interesting. And there's a Seth Roman back storyline anyway, that goes back to the Shield days, and it writes itself. We had a glimpse of it at the Royal Rumble, with no real build. So I think give a bit of build and give Seth's character would just work with the briefcase as well. I just think he would be the perfect character to hold it. And you also have the Cody thing. He could cash in, win the title. Cody comes back, wants a bit of Seth. You've got Cody and Seth. You could main event Mania with that, with the storyline that's been told, and with the injury kind of adding to that. I think that could be really, really interesting. Omos, there's not really a story with Omos, if I'm honest with you. He's also just quite dominant anyway. He hasn't really ever gone for a title or seemed to talk about a title before or MVP on his behalf. So I don't really see how Omos winning it does anything. I mean, I think the reason he's in the match is because they've got some cool spots lined up of using his height to reach the briefcase, or people on ladders and he's just on his feet in the middle of the ring and they're both at the same height. That's why Omos is in it, to just show off his height. So I don't think Omos is winning. I will say that. Who does that leave us? That leaves, the only one I haven't mentioned so far is Sami Zayn. And I think there's a genuine possibility with Sami Zayn. I think there's a really, really interesting storyline to be told with Sami Zayn as Money in the Bank. He's a part of the bloodline. He wants to win the briefcase to kind of defend Roman, to say, well, this is off the table. And I would just love to have a long burner, 6 months or so, with Sammy with the briefcase, and almost Heyman's like, well, should we get rid of the briefcase? He's like, no, I'll keep hold of it just in case, and plays on that, and then eventually cashes in. And I think that could be a great way to turn Sami Zayn face. Maybe he could get mistreated by the bloodline. They could just laugh at him, and over time he gets more and more annoyed, and eventually he's like, well, I'm going to cash this in then. And maybe Sami Zayn as Universal Champion could be, it seems mad, but he's good enough wrestler. He's good enough talker. He's got a storyline there. So I don't think it's crazy. It seems mad the guy that got body slammed by Wee Man at WrestleMania could be a Universal Champion, but that's the world of professional wrestling. So honestly, with what I've just said, I'm kind of torn between Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins. I think it could be over. They're my 2 picks, but in the predictions, we only pick in one. So I think it's a bit boring, but I've got to go for Seth Rollins. I think he's just a safer bet for predictions. I think, especially if Becky wins. I hope they don't do the women's one first and Becky wins it, because then that would almost seemingly make the men's one more predictable. I would like them to leave the women's one till last. Have the show end of Becky Lynch, or have the show end of Belair and Carmella, and then Becky cashes in or something. Just don't put the women's one first and have Becky win. Unless you're not having Becky win. If you're not having Becky win, then you can put the women's one whenever you want to put it, I guess. So yeah, that is. So I just turned the speakers on, if that affected the audio quality. But yeah, that's what I'm going for. So my predictions, just to run them down: Bobby Lashley to win the US title, the Usos to retain, Ronda Rousey to retain, Bianca Belair to retain, and the Money in the Bank matches, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. So thanks everyone that's seen this. As I mentioned previously, if you have not heard our weekly WWE review, go back and check that out. That gives you all kind of the build up to Money in the Bank. Really handy if you don't have time to watch the weekly shows and you just want kind of a rundown of what's happened. We go through it quite comprehensively. We don't miss too much. We get through all the top points. We tell you our views on it. And we've got Fax Fisher. He knows everything about the business. So we've got a good team here at Recharge. So yeah, check out the WWE one. We've also got AEW. If you also watch AEW, we have that review of Dynamite and Rampage from last week. So check that out as well. We've also got Forbidden Door review, which Fisher did on his own at the start of the week. So check that out as well if you're into AEW and you just want to hear, a different opinion on the shows. Fisher's very opinionated, so I would definitely check that out. We'll be back soon with a Money in the Bank review of the show. So keep your eyes peeled, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter at Recharge Wrestle. And that's important because the whole point of this video is we're doing a predictions league. So from 1st of January to the 31st of December, the whole year, we are covering every WWE, NXT, AEW pay-per-view. And we are predicting the results of the matches. there's a community of about 15, 10, 15 of us that are predicting on a regular basis, and we're keeping a score of the predictions. People can win. You can win a pay-per-view, but also the main goal is at the end of the year we count up all of the scores, and the top predictor, excluding us guys at Recharge. So I think we're quite near the top, a couple of us. So the top rated predictor can win a WWE or AEW t-shirt of their choosing on behalf of the Recharge Wrestling lads. We will buy you a t-shirt from either WWE or AEW, whichever wrestler you choose. So definitely worth getting involved now. It is not too late. We've got loads of pay-per-views to go, and it's not like anyone's on anywhere near 100%. There's a long way to go in predictions. So do not hesitate if you haven't done it already. Do not hesitate to get involved, and we will see you very soon. Cheers, guys.